Muy buenas tardes, bienvenidos al Instituto Cervantes de Manchester. Good evening. Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burhan, Consul General of Spain in Manchester, Laura García Alfaya, Mr. Guillem Balagué, Ms. Toni Duggan, Gaizka Mendieta, and Guillem Balagué, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the Mayor of Manchester, Andy Burhan, for your presence here at this event so important for us, and for the support that the City of Manchester gives to culture in general and the Instituto Cervantes in particular. Manchester, a city where more than 100 languages are spoken, a united city of literature, and home for more than 40 arts and culture festivals. We are really privileged to be in this fantastic historic building owned by the Manchester Council, which was one of the first public libraries in the United Kingdom, and which almost for 30 years has been the home of the Instituto Cervantes. Muchas gracias. A place where Mancunians learn Spanish, but also Catalan, Basque, and Galician, and where we promote the cultures of the 21 countries that share Spanish as an official language. Football, in the words of the poet and Director General of the Instituto Cervantes, Luis García Montero, is fully connected with the identity at a time when the sense of belonging was evolving dramatically due to the Industrial Revolution. Football, at the end of the 19th and the beginning of the 20th century, emerged when in England and other industrial countries was changing this sense of belonging very, very quickly. Nowadays, it constitutes a fundamental element in the cultural exchange between countries and communities, in which competition is always accompanied by understanding and solidarity. And that is precisely why it's so important for us to host this event as a key element of cultural dialogue. And here I would like to remember a Catalan and Spanish writer, Manuel Vázquez Fontalbán, very fond of football and one of the greatest writers on the Spanish language. He saw very brilliantly how to approach football as a fundamental part of culture. And I would like to quote him in the article, "The Mortal God of the Ball." He said, "A great football player is a media hero, and this makes him objectively different from an artist. But I think there is a point of contact. The talented footballer also expresses his art and his ability to create and propose a new reading of the game. It is basically the same as what writers or painters do." And now I would like also to thank very much the support of the LALIGA for this program. But also I would like to mention that the Instituto Cervantes and LALIGA have been already partnered on many occasions. For example, by publishing football dictionaries in languages such as Chinese, Arabic, Indonesian, or Wolof in Africa, and to organize also courses of Spanish, football, and Spanish language in countries such as Morocco or Japan. On this occasion, we will have the opportunity to enjoy a conversation between Everton player Toni Duggan, the acclaimed journalist Guillem Balagué, and former footballer Gaizka Mendieta, with the moderation of the Director of International Relations of LALIGA, Kegan Pierce. I thank you very much for your time, for being with us tonight, and also to the public who are with us also in Instituto Cervantes. And without further ado, I hand over the floor to the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Mr. Andy Burhan, to be followed by the General Consul of Spain in Manchester, Laura García Alfaya. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Espero que disfruten del evento.
Buenas noches, bienvenidos a Manchester. Es un placer recibirlos a todos en la capital del fútbol mundial. Controvertido, ¿no? Un poco. El norte de Inglaterra y España tienen mucho en común. Compartimos muchas cualidades, el calor de la gente y sobre todo la pasión y el amor por el fútbol. And that's where I will go into English, you'll be pleased to know. Even though I did learn Spanish at school more than 40 years ago, I still love to speak and love to visit. I am absolutely Hispanophile all the way through, and that's why it's a true pleasure actually to be at this gathering tonight. And thank you so many of you for turning out. A shared love of football, a love of Spain, a love of our country, and that's what brings us all together. And we have something to celebrate. Now, apologies to City fans in the audience and former City players in the audience, but you may have noticed that yesterday Manchester United women won their first ever FA Cup, and actually, well, rightly so, 4-0, and in fact it was a Spanish-British partnership. Lucia Garcia from the Basque Country, I think, Baracaldo, with 2 goals. Absolutely fantastic. And of course, we are all looking forward to the second All-Manchester FA Cup final, obviously, with Pep. And are we looking forward to it? The United fans in the audience are a bit nervous when I said that. Anyway, it's happening, isn't it? And we're adjusting to the second All-Manchester FA Cup final. Obviously, Spanish players in the team as well, and a great tradition of Spanish players playing for both clubs. So much in common culture, and that's why this event is so important this evening. Thank you to the Instituto Cervantes for hosting us here 30 years on this site in city centre Manchester. A really important statement actually of what I believe we still are, which is an outward-looking European city that welcomes the world and actually welcomes people from Spain regularly, obviously, into the city on Champions League, on those great Champions League occasions. Thank you to La Liga, the other of the 2 best leagues in the world. I think it's probably, although I won't go, don't get me started on the Premier League this evening. That's probably not the place, is it? But we're really great to see our friends from La Liga here this evening and bringing this event to our city. I mean, of course, if you want football culture, I meant what I said at the start. You know, this is, if not it's certainly a global capital of football, with the strength of obviously our 2 big clubs, but obviously throughout the city region with Bury, Reborn, Oldham Athletic, Stockport County, Salford City, Rochdale, FC United, who won a trophy yesterday. I see. Congratulations to them as well. I hope I've mentioned them all, or I will be in trouble if I've missed one off. But we have a deep football culture here in our city. It is absolutely in the DNA of the place. And while we share this love of our great game in both countries, we do have to sort of look after its good health. And tomorrow in the UK Parliament, a debate begins about the Football Governance Bill. And I think here, at least, if I speak for English football, I think we do need to better look after the clubs that I just mentioned before. Wigan Athletic, that was the one I missed out. I knew there was one. Wigan, Rochdale more recently, Bolton Wanderers obviously have had difficulties in recent times, Stockport County. All of our clubs at that level have struggled in recent times. And I think we do need to challenge the game better to look after its own grassroots and its own tradition. And certainly that's a thing that we would say from a Greater Manchester perspective. But we're doing so much, though, also to promote the women's and girls' game here. I'm proud to have established the Greater Manchester Women's Football Board with Karen Bardsley as our chair. And we continue to support the rapid development of the women's game in this city region. And there's so much positivity coming through that. It's why, fellow Evertonian, Toni, I'm looking forward to hearing you on the panel this evening. It's nice to have somebody else who has a foot in both Liverpool and Manchester with us. Guillem, it's going to be fantastic that you have given us your time. You're one of the most authoritative voices on English and Spanish football, and I'm sure many of the people in the audience enjoy listening to you. And I can't be the only person who used to love El Rey de la Mestalla, who's with us this evening. Gaizka, it's fantastic that you're with us. You were a wonderful force in English football when you played here for Middlesbrough, and we all remember your performances with great respect, and we look forward as well to hearing you all this evening. So I think we have got a lot in common, and we've got a lot to celebrate. And I will just finish by kind of coming back to the title of tonight's event, Two Lands, One Passion. We've lived through a period of greater division and countries drifting apart, and obviously we have been through the change that Brexit has brought. And I think there comes a point where you have to come back to remember what we have in common and what we share. And I meant what I said at the start about the north of England and Spain having so much in common. There's a reason why so many people travel out from the north of England every year to spend time in Spain on holiday. The numbers that pass through Manchester Airport are huge, enormous, millions of people, and obviously millions coming back the other way. And the reason why is because I think there is a shared humour, a shared culture. There's a kind of a common, if you like, common currency between people from the north and Spain in terms of people are humble and have their feet on the ground, and there's a friendliness about both. And I think that's why we've always been great friends. And in these times that we're living through, we need to remember what brings us together, what we have in common and what we share. And there's nothing more important in that list, I don't think, than football. So I just want to finish by thanking you all for being here. I look forward to the discussion this evening. And I want to hand over now to our Consul General, who's been in the city now for 3 years, I think I'm right, 4, following the pandemic, has made a huge difference already to our life here in Greater Manchester. So Laura, with those words, I'm going to now hand the floor over to you. Thanks for listening, everybody, and thank you for coming this evening.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much, Mr. Andy Burham, for your kind words and for joining us today here at Instituto Cervantes, and for your good Spanish. Congratulations. This is an event about Spain, the UK, and football, as you said, and it is a pleasure for me to be here today as Consul General of Spain in Manchester, representing a growing community of over 46,000 Spanish citizens to whom we provide consular services at the Consulate General of Spain in Manchester. Since we opened our office back in 2020, we have been able to witness the evolution of what is now one of the most vibrant and evolving regions in the United Kingdom, with football as one of the engines of the city. The city of Manchester has been a key location in the history of industry and economy of not just the United Kingdom, but the world. And its potential has attracted people from all around the globe, transforming it in the third most populated area in the country with almost 3 million residents. The connection between Manchester and our country as you mentioned, is also perfectly reflected on its transport links. You mentioned the airport. Every day, over 20 Spanish cities are directly connected to Manchester through its airport, the third busiest in the country, with an average of close to 600 flights per day. These flights, added to those of surrounding airports like Liverpool, John Lennon Airport and Leeds Bradford Airport, do not just link our countries, but also foster an exchange of ideas, commerce, and camaraderie. Greater Manchester's world-class universities also welcome over 40,000 international students every year in its 5 universities, enriching the academic landscape and helping cross-cultural understanding. With thousands of Spanish students pursuing education in Manchester and countless more professionals contributing to our shared prosperity, the impact of a partnership reverberates far beyond geographical boundaries. Spain has also proven to be a top destination among those in the region who want to go for studies, tourism, business, or those who want to call Spain home. In numbers, our Consulate General received over 30,000 visa applications only in 2023. But there is no need to leave Manchester to feel its connection to our country. Its streets are a living symbol of diversity. Over 200 languages are spoken daily across the city region, with Spanish as one of the most spoken ones and most popular ones among students of all levels. You just have to go around and take a look at the classrooms. Spanish names are now common in universities, schools, companies, and of course, among the city's football teams. Thank you very much to LALIGA and Instituto Cervantes for organizing today's event, and Mr. Andy Burren and all the team of the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, who have always opened their doors to the Consulate General of Spain in Manchester. As the Mayor of Greater Manchester said in an event with the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in London last February, one of Spain's best exports to the city of Manchester is football. I hope today's event will serve as a testament of how both countries, Spain and the UK, share their passion for football, as well as to showcase the power of collaboration as we continue to build bridges that span our countries and cultures. Mr. Keegan Pierce, Director of International Relations at LALIGA, the floor is now yours. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure. First of all, thanks to the Instituto Cervantes, to Mayor Andy Burnham, also Consul General Laura Garcia Alfaya. After such a star-studded lineup to introduce and such a star-studded lineup that is here on the stage with us for today's panel, I'm going to be as brief as possible. It's a pleasure to be here in Manchester, this city which lives and breathes football. To also be here with so many members of the Manchester football community, the Manchester Spanish community, and the Manchester Spanish football community. The relationship between Spain and the UK is indeed a special one. There are links of commerce, there are links of tourism. There are two countries that very much feel a mutual admiration across many aspects of culture, and football is no exception to that. It's quite appropriate that, in fact, this week, it is going to be the 95th anniversary of the very first international fixture between Spain and England. That took place on the 15th of May, 1929. We won't go into the final result, but let's just say that Spain were the first team from continental Europe to beat England in history. A match that was also the first ever broadcast on radio, which gives you an idea of just how important that match at the Metropolitano Stadium in Madrid was to the Spanish public who was following it closely from home. Spain is also home to the reigning world champion women's team. England are home to the reigning European champion women's team, and you can see the rivalry and the success that both English and Spanish teams have had at the club level and the international level over the course of the years. To talk more about the football and the culture around the football, I can think of no better panel of the three individuals as we have here today. Guillem Balagué, award-winning author, journalist, presenter, expert on Spanish, European, and English football. Toni Duggan, who has proudly represented and continues to represent Everton, Manchester City, FC Barcelona, Atlético Madrid, in addition to the Lionesses with 79 appearances. And finally, Gaizka Mendieta, of course, of Valencia fame, as mentioned by Mayor Burnham, but also of FC Barcelona, Lazio, and here a League Cup winner with Middlesbrough in England, and 40 appearances for the Spanish national team as well. With no further ado, we'd like to get stuck into tonight's topics. And we're going to be talking about football, culture, language, and the love that unites these two countries. And so I'd like to get started, first of all, with Guillem. We're here to travel back in time a little bit. We want to talk about Guillem Balagué, who falls in love with football. How does football first enter your life? And what did you first know about Spanish football, and what did you first hear about English football?
So I was a Football Club Barcelona fan, as everybody is. When they get born in Barcelona, you kind of impose that. It goes with the DNA, it seems. And then there was a game that Espanyol beat Barcelona 5-1, so I thought I'd jump in. Espanyol is better. We've been down in the second division 3 times since, and I don't feel sorry for the change, but in fact, it actually shows you what life is like much better than Barcelona. Barcelona win most of the time, Espanyol hardly ever. That's what life is about, isn't it? So that's what I have to say myself, just to be pleased of that choice. My dad was an Espanyol fan as well, and football, it's in everybody's life in Spain. You just cannot avoid it. It's everywhere. Newspapers, 4 newspapers, daily newspapers, just fill the pages of it. Radio shows at midnight, discussions everywhere. I feel, though, that there's a big difference, and I'll be interested to hear from both of you as well, in relation to England. In Spain, it's a football game that lasts 90 minutes. Then you use it a little bit as a hobby, as an entertainment to talk. Here's a lifestyle, completely a lifestyle, different thing. It'll be interesting to talk more on that. But as a hobby, it's everybody's hobby. And yeah, that was, I came to England in 91. You couldn't find the results of Spanish league anywhere. I think The Guardian had the Anglo-Italian league. That's the only foreign league that they put in, if some of people of my age may remember that. So I will find out the results when I came to England in 91 by bringing mom and dad, which will be once a week on a Wednesday. So how did we do? And it will normally be we lost or didn't win. And I had in the back of my mind, like, I would like to be able to do something somewhere in whatever format or platform, a place where I could tell a little bit of what's going on back in Spain. And yeah, when Sky gave us the opportunity, that became, our open door open to Spanish football and Spanish culture through Sky and through football.
Thank you, Guillem. Toni, how does football first come into your life?
Well, firstly, I've got 2 brothers, so it was always going to be about. They were always in the garden, kicking the ball about, wanting me to join in. Back then, women's football wasn't so popular, so I felt like it was a bit weird or strange to be playing with them. Kind of got bullied into it. I had no choice, stick here in goal, they'd say. But that's how it was then. I mean, luckily, thankfully, times have changed, but yeah, I just get stuck in goal with my brothers. But I'm so grateful for that because of the journey that it's took me on. And it's kind of been nice to go through women's football from the early stages to see the development now. Now young girls are running around in the football kits and it's the cool thing to do, whereas I felt like I was a bit strange, like this is just for the boys, and that's how it was. So yeah, I kind of had no choice with my 2 brothers, but it's just been my life ever since. I absolutely love it. It's took me to places I could never have dreamt of, opened up fantastic opportunities, going to Spain, being one of the best ones. Yeah, and as Guillem said, like, it's a lifestyle for us, our family. They're all Liverpool supporters, although I do play for Everton. But yeah, it's just it's something that's always connected our family and friends. You know, football's a massive part of us, especially everyone in Liverpool as well. The rivalry is huge. But yeah, I mean, it's been my dream job and I'm just lucky to have done it.
Thank you, Tony. Gaizka, football ran in your family as well, is that right?
It does, so I had not many choices, although I try not to, because, like Guillem says, you play football everywhere in Spain, in the streets, in the squares, at school, of course. So I started playing football since I was a little kid, like most people would do. But I like other sports as well. So I used to play basketball, I used to run athletics, and I was pretty good. So at one point, I remember one day I told my dad, I don't want to play football anymore. I'm sure he was pretty sad at that time. And I did stop playing football for 2-3 years, at the age of 12 or something like that. And then I went back to my dad, I think I want to go back to play football. So of course, he was happy again. And I started playing, let's say, quite late. I love football, but I love playing football. I could not watch a game on TV. Like my dad would say, if someone is playing, I'll be there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I go out with the ball and go and play. So I love playing, but on TV was never something that attracted me. Which, interestingly, that's how I get to know English football. Because at the time, not as old as Guillem, but that generation, there was only one game in Spain on Saturdays. 3 o'clock, second channel of Spain. There were many channels then. So on the second channel, one game per week. And I used to watch it every chance I got, if I wasn't playing. And in my career, there was always the idea, the dream of come to England, the home of football, where football, they say, started, although maybe another debate. A lot of Spanish and Basques, and there's a lot of coming and going. But yeah, I wanted to come and play in England, because it was the place where football was different. I think now it's changed, again, a different topic, but yeah, I love football, watching on TV, and I loved it when I came.
What did you see in those matches? So you were watching on television, images being beamed in from England. How did that feel? How did it look to you on television?
Well, first, which I think most people, probably Guillem also would remember, not you because Spain was different, but there was a throw-in, like halfway line, and the whole stadium would be like cheering. And I'm like, what's going on? It's a throw-in. Like, and they all get excited. In Spain, there's a throw-in, everybody's inside, okay, what were you going to do? So I love that. I love a corner kick. People would get excited as well. So a lot of things. When I came to Middlesbrough, used to play away. When we play well, people will applaud you. We're like, okay, what are we playing? Like, so a lot of things that is still preserved in the football. But basically, that it wasn't so tactic. I think now tactics and systems and coaches are kind of taking over the football that when I came to England, it was more in place, which I enjoy, of course.
I would say for us, England has always been the standards that we wanted to reach. It didn't matter if England hadn't won the World Cup since '66. It just didn't matter, really. It was facing England was the national side that we wanted to beat. And if we did so, I remember in '81, '82, we came to Wembley with Marcos Alonso scoring. We beat you. It was a friendly. It was celebrated in the houses. We didn't go out and started coming out with the flags or anything. But we celebrated as a big win. And the same every time we came to Old Trafford and something happened. Real Madrid come in and beating Manchester United that famous day with the Redondo move and the goal of Raúl. It's talked about as one of the highlights of recent history of Spanish football, the transformation of Spanish football. We've always been wanting to beat you, basically. That has been our dream.
And what were your senses? Did you come to England for football, Guillem?
No, I came because it's funny because I came on the 21st of November 1991, and that day I met somebody who's in the audience, Alistair, who's here. I went to his house to stay with him because he had been in my house with the sadly gone for British people, I imagine, Erasmus grant. And I said, I want to come to England. I said, well, come over, stay with us. And I was in a room with them, with the Jackson family. I remember perfectly the day they picked me up from the airport. Archie, Alistair's dad, Scottish, Alistair from Liverpool. And I thought I knew English. And the whole trip from the airport, which takes not long, but it was like me just nodding in the back of the car and thinking, I did 1 year and a half of English, but what English did I do? But I think you learn, and I'm sure you've done to the same. The first 3 months in Liverpool, this is where I stayed for 10 years, the first 3 months was me saying yes.
Only 3 months.
No, yeah.
That's
I'm
pretty good.
Quite a good teacher, learner. So yeah. And then somebody will say something, say yeah, and they'll say yeah. I'll say no. And those were my conversations for 3 months. But at some point, you start dreaming in English. Around 3, 4, 5 months, and then that's it. You got the book. You just don't want to leave after that. In my case, anyway.
Toni, you spent 4 seasons in Spain, obviously between Barça and Atlético de Madrid. At which point does your perception of Spanish football start to enter your consciousness?
Mine was obviously, as I said before, the women's game wasn't so popular then. So I didn't even know that Barcelona, Atlético Madrid had a women's team. So for me, it was just watching El Clasico. Twice a year, you know, the incredible team of like Messi and Raúl and Ramos, and you know, the games were incredible. So that was my perception of Spanish football. I didn't know too much about the rest of the league. And then I was at Manchester City, and we'd managed to win a few of the cups. We'd won the league, and I thought, what am I going to do next? Like, I was ready for a change. And never in my wildest dreams thought I'd end up at Barcelona. Going back to what Guillem said as well about the language, I remember being in class and my Spanish teacher always saying, Toni, pay attention. And I'd be like, I don't need Spanish, I'm going to play football. But I didn't know I'd be playing football in Spain. So the same, I was on my way from the airport and I was like, yeah, I know a bit of Spanish. I knew cat, dog, 1, 2, 3. But that wasn't going to help me on the football pitch. It was so overwhelming. Learning a new language it's tough, and especially as a Scouser. You know, English people just about understand me, so how is the Spanish girls going to understand me? But again, it's something that I'm so proud of done, and it was an incredible experience, although it's tough in them first few months. You are just literally nodding your head at things you definitely shouldn't be nodding your head at.
You had obviously traveled to Barcelona many times before becoming a Barcelona player. What did you maybe not perceive until finally you arrived there? What were the things that you first learned and realized when you actually set foot to live in Spain as opposed to just being a tourist?
I didn't know I was going to be a tour guide to my family every weekend. So obviously the connection's only 2 hours, so it was great. I always have friends and family around. The women's game is a bit different to the men's game. I went out there alone. I was living in an apartment. I wasn't fortunate enough to have all my family there and friends. But they definitely made the most of it, so they were over every single weekend. But obviously every weekend I've got a game, an important game, playing at Barcelona. And they want to go and see the Camp Nou, and they want to go to the bars and the restaurants. And I'm like, wow, we weren't expecting this. So I felt like I had 2 jobs. But yeah, as you say, before I went over there, I absolutely love Barcelona. I've been on a couple of holidays with my friends. I just never imagined I would be living there one day, but definitely one of my most favourite cities. Not just for that experience, but for the people, the energy, the lifestyle. Obviously the weather helps, but just how relaxed and calm, the food, and the love for football also. It helps that Barcelona are one of the greatest teams ever. So that helped. But yeah, it's a great city. Like Liverpool. Home's home.
Guillem, jumping back to you for a second, if you could tell, back in 1991 you said, Guillem Balagué, some advice about how to land in England, what advice would you give yourself?
Go to the pub. And if you don't have money, do what I did, which was pay for 1 pint, make it last 3 hours. And if you're lucky enough, and I was in Liverpool, so I was very lucky, just try to talk or, exchange anecdotes in your broken English, because eventually, and I think it happens not just in Liverpool, in northern England, they'll embrace you. They know you're on your own. They know that you need things. So the baker will bring a bit of bread. Look, I got some bread for you. And the older lady would just come with some scouse for you. And the butcher's like, I've got a steak. Do you know what to do with it? You can keep it. And like that, there'll be a second pint that somebody will get you. And then after the third pint, you speak perfect English. That's the trick.
You could write a learning method, actually. Instituto Cervantes, I don't know if you want to patent the Guillem Balagué method, but watch out. Gaizka, you obviously arrived under slightly different circumstances, or more similar to Tony's, obviously, but in this country as a player on a transfer. What was your thoughts upon arrival here? What was your immersion experience like? How was your landing in Middlesbrough?
Completely the opposite than Tony. He was telling all these things, and one was completely opposite. Like, not many people came to visit. Don't know why. Those that they came, they never left home. Like, where do we go? Let's stay home. And the language, of course, different language, different English. No language, but English. The English I learned. I used to study at college, and then I went to university, an academy. So between the foreigners, I could have a conversation, understand what they were talking. If I tried to pick up between the English guys or the British guys, no chance. So it was 3 months. It took me, I think, 10 months to me to kind of be able to be fluent in conversations between the English guys. Food-wise, I used to bring jamon, of course. There weren't many paella restaurants in Middlesbrough. But even that, with all that, first year was difficult. You don't get to see many blue skies. And I think somehow when you're used to that, after Valencia, Barcelona, Roma, so it wasn't easy, but eventually, well, here I am, 20 years later, still here. So in those days, there was a lot of differences that nowadays they don't, in terms of food, diets in the teams, training sessions. Like in Spain, I would not have maybe 1 day a week free. Here, I used to have 2, sometimes 3. It's like, okay, like 3 days at home, not training, no, because you play, you recover, day off, then you come lightly, then it's pre-match training session, and then you play. Like, okay, but there's a lot of days there that you can improve. We changed that. Diet, we used to eat a lot of beans on toast and fried eggs. 9:30 before, when you train 10 o'clock, okay, it was impossible for me to train if I ate all that. So we changed also those kind of habits, which again nowadays, I'm sure they're normal. One thing that we used to have in Spain is we would have lunch or dinner, a glass of wine. So tables of 4 was very easy to have. Even they dropped the bottle, it was normal. Like between 4 is 1 glass and a half. So I remember one of the nights I came, like, can I have a glass of wine? And Steve McLaren at the time looked at me like, I said, but why? Just 1 glass. I said, yeah, you can have 1 glass, but these guys cannot have 1 glass. So nobody drinks, so okay, no glass.
That's the culture.
That's the culture.
Isn't it funny that he's gone from bringing ham, hoping not to be found out, I suppose, in the airports?
No, it's fine. I used to bring the whole leg.
The whole leg?
Yeah, yeah.
From Spain?
That was the condition for people to come. You bring the leg or there's no...
That was different times, obviously.
Different times altogether.
But he's gone from that to actually co-owning some of the best Spanish restaurants in the UK. So that's some jump.
Still making up for the lack of paella in Middlesbrough.
Gave me the idea, exactly. Yeah, there you are. Yeah, yeah. You find the niche.
I was going to ask, there's obviously a culture, Gaizka, now, I think much more of a culture than perhaps when you arrived, of player care. The idea that clubs should have people who are in charge of making sure that players land and look after them. Was there an idea of that, when you arrived in the dressing room at Middlesbrough? Or?
Very much so, yeah. Middlesbrough was great in that it had better facilities than Valencia, for sure. From Barcelona, for sure, because we used to train in just one pitch, the old La Masia behind the stadium, and Middlesbrough had 1 indoor, 2 astroturf, and I think 3 or 4 natural grass. So it was unbelievable in that respect. We had 1 person that would take care of us from the moment we arrived, wherever you needed, schools, buy a car, house. Valencia didn't have that. I think Madrid started to have someone to take care of the players. Barca had, well, the Carlos Naval, the delegate, which wasn't his job, but he was kind enough to help. So in that way, it was advanced to Spain or LALIGA, way better than that. Better organized. Like in Spain, you will have, I don't know if it happened to you, journalists calling you on your private phone number, like at midnight, because Spain, the radio shows sports start very late. So at midnight, your phone goes and, not Guillem, that's why. Like, oh, want you to enter live, like, I'm sleeping, like, no. And if you don't attend them, then of course you you play better or worse depends on how nice you are to them.
Come
You need to be
on.
nice. There comes another journalist. But we have someone in the media that will filter all that. I was like, happy days. I don't have to talk to the media. I don't have to do this. They all organize everything for me. It was excellent in that sense.
How late would you call him, Guillem, when you were calling his mobile phone?
No, but I didn't, because obviously I was here, and there will be those radios in Spain calling me to tell them whatever about English football. But he was in Middlesbrough, and he decided to just stay there, and that's very far. Middlesbrough is very far.
From where?
From the world, he was very far. And I invited Gaizka to come over to Sky and start doing television, and you know, I couldn't believe that a legend like him wouldn't have that opportunity. But in fact, unless he was in Sky, there would have been nobody else was talking about Spanish football at the time. And I was so grateful that he came over every now and again, and that opened up a whole new world. Now he's an ambassador of La Liga, ambassador of well, you were of Barcelona, you play with Barcelona as well, legend. So I didn't ring you at midnight, but I opened the doors to
You came at the right
well.
time, that's true.
Toni, was your arrival in Barcelona, did you feel like the cultural component was being taken into account when you arrived at the club for the first time?
We were just speaking about this earlier, actually. It was so different, like, from the outside, yeah, I was going to Barcelona and it was incredible. But actually, when I got there, I was quite surprised at the facilities. Like, the changing room, it was just literally like a bench. There was no lockers. We trained on, like, 3G AstroTurf, and Barca B team took priority over us training on that pitch. But obviously, when you first go to sign for the club, they show you the other facilities, the men's part, or this is what you could be having. So I was a bit surprised at that, but when I went to Atlético Madrid, their facilities were incredible. And also, I wasn't too aware of Atlético Madrid before I went there, but I felt like it was like the Liverpool of Spain. I can't explain it. It was like the passion and the detail and the family club. I don't know if you feel the same over in Spain, but Atlético Madrid, it was different. Barcelona's such a massive global club, but Atlético felt like they worked hard. They didn't have all this money, but they made use of what they had, a bit like in Liverpool, with, like Everton, Liverpool. But the way they looked after the players was incredible. I remember going to my apartment the first day, and they'd got me my whole shopping in. They had like "Welcome to Atlético" like on like towels and stuff, and it was none of that at Barcelona, which you probably would have expected more so. So it was a bit of a reality shock, like comparing the two clubs. And yeah, I mean, then first month when you sign for a new club, everything's everywhere. You have to open a new bank, and there's a million things that you don't really consider as a footballer that you just think, yeah, I'm going to live abroad, it's going to be amazing. But it's actually so many things that go into that to make you settle. And as guys said, it can take like a year to get settled, really. I used to go home from training so tired just because you don't know the language, and it was tiring, like I'd just sleep. I didn't know about siestas, but it took me about 6 weeks to get used to them.
It's true, because you have to think, well, that's when you're fluent. If not, you have to think, find the word, and then say it, or translate whatever they're saying. So it's a very good point. Like, your language tires you out without noticing.
Absolutely. And Toni, what did you notice in terms of obviously moving from WSL to Spanish football? You spent some time in COVID, obviously, with Atlético Madrid, different environment, but obviously with Barca, you had a chance to play in Atlético Madrid Stadium. How did you feel about the supporter culture? What did you see in terms of the difference?
Yeah, I thought it was very different. I mean, the FAWSL has always been like the pinnacle of the women's game after the American League, which was a huge success a few years back. But now the English game is where everyone wants to play in women's football. And it's took time to get there. But at the beginning, it was kind of just put bums on seats. Let's give away some free tickets, fill the stadiums. Obviously, it's at a different stage now. But I felt like when I went over to Spain, and I remember precisely that game that we played at the Wanda Metropolitan. I was playing for Barcelona at the time against Atlético Madrid, and there was 60,000+ people at the stadium. But it was passion. They were proper Atlético Madrid fans. It wasn't free tickets. It wasn't people are just here because we want to support women's football and get behind it. They really wanted Atlético to win. You know, they were doing all the hand gestures, and, you know, we won 2-0 actually, and Barcelona and Atletico Madrid were big rivals then. It was, you know, first and second in the league, so that added to it, but the atmosphere was different. And I'd say that was the biggest difference. Now it's changed. The WSL, since obviously England was successful in the European Championships, it's got a lot more like passionate, and people want to be at the games, and there's not just free tickets. But that game definitely stuck with me. You know, they have flares, and it was incredible. It was a great experience.
Guillem, a question for you, but also for everybody else in the panel as well. Over the past, let's say, 10, 15, at most 20 years, has Spanish football become more like English football, or has English football become more like Spanish football?
Let's just name the 5 managers that have been selected as potential manager of the year. Unai Emery, Pep Guardiola, Andoni Iraola, who am I leaving? Mikel Arteta, and Klopp. So it's 4 out of 5. Now, it's been, we first, as I said, admired what English football were doing. We still do, and everybody wants to come here because of a lot of things that they're obvious. The stadiums are full, the pitch is always great, the facilities are fantastic, the best in the world, the passion and the tribalism, when it's well understood, it's second to none. Everybody wants to come here because as a professional you actually get respected. There is a lot to like. But it got to a point where we needed to get out of our country to challenge ourselves and to see how far we could go, and Spanish football became fashionable, so you get physios here and doctors and coaches and players. It went that way. And then as a consequence, English football has been, you know, has opened up the mind to foreign influences, but especially Spanish influences. What I've been able to do here, to have a career in which I've written 10 books, I've done podcasts, YouTube, television in English about Spanish football mostly, but that doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. So I get really annoyed when people say, "Oh, in England it's like they stuck in their ways," and no, it's a country that's very open-minded, especially to foreign influences, and especially in the last 50 or 20 years. But not just any influence. They've gone for the best, and some of the best directors and coaches and players are here. So it's gone full circle, and it's brilliant how those that have come to England and been part of English culture from Spain, how they've embraced it. And myself, if I was called up by the national side for the Euros, I wouldn't know if I wanted to be English international or Spanish international, because now I feel part of both worlds. England have given me a lot, I've given back, and obviously Spain is my country, so that makes you richer to have all that.
Gaizka, do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I think, not in the best of ways, English football has become more Spanish or European, depends on coaches, but certainly Spanish influence, Barca influence from Pep's era, I think is been massive, which it makes a lot of teams play very similar, of course with different standards, depends on the players and everything, but you get to see very similar. Where before, English football was something special, different, quite unique actually. What now is not like that. Maybe if you go to lower divisions, but Championship as well is very well administrated, like directors, sporting directors. So a structure, I think for good is got better, but not always, I think, on the pitch, not always for football. And that's what I most liked when I came. It was the fact that 2 fullbacks go. There's only 1 defender, or everyone is going or leaving. Where in Spain is no, if you go, he can stay. So everyone now is like that. It's like you see the same movement, the same tactics, well, everywhere, not only England and Spain, but mostly. And it's true that England it got better with the best. He brought the best players, the best managers to improve and level the football. And I think, of course, Pep is a major figure. He did it in Germany, he did it in Spain, he did it in Germany, he did it now in England. So same in Spain. Spain has changed since then as well, but it was always more organized than Premier League. But yeah, I miss a bit of that Premier League, crazy Premier League.
You're a nostalgic guy. You like the old school Premier League.
Well, it was funnier. It was more entertaining, I think, than now. Like, it's quite. Now I come and I talk on games, so sometimes it's like, it's not much happening. Just hoping someone change position. Oh, he changed position. Like,
I think the perfect football would be a combination of the two. I think for me going from England to Spain, it was so difficult because especially the style of Barcelona, everyone speaks about tiki-taka, but it's very disciplined as well. And I use the comparison, you'll know a lot better than me, but because I was a Liverpool fan, Luis Suarez, when he went from Liverpool to Barcelona, you're so disciplined in the number 9 role, which was the role that I had to do also. But Luis Suarez at Liverpool, he was so good because he was so free. He had all the freedom. Whereas when he went to Barcelona, especially in his first year, he had to be so disciplined because he's got, Messi doing that or Busquets or, he had other players around him to do that. And I think when he was isolated up there, he was like frustrated not getting on the ball. And I also felt the same when I went to Barcelona. I had to be so disciplined, but I wanted to go and get on the ball, but that wasn't the style. But then I also felt like my teammates in Spain, because we were kind of the first, there was Lika Martins, myself, a couple of French girls, they struggled to adapt to the foreigners because we were so used to doing things off the cuff and being like quite direct, whereas the Spanish way was, no, we keep the ball, we be patient. So it was a bit of give and take.
That's fascinating because there is a cultural clash in clubs where a Spanish coach wants to implement that discipline and the style that we know, the building from the back, and most of the squad is English, for instance. There is a clash. I've seen it recently at Leicester City, for instance. Enzo Maresca, half Spanish, who fell in love with Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, has gone to Leicester City. He was told, change the style. We want more of the modern style. But he had a squad that was very English. And the fans, they don't really want that. They like Gaizka's like, where's plan B? What do you mean plan B? It's like he's got plan A1, A2, A3, A4. But it happens as well that, say, my book on Pep Guardiola, it's been read by everyone. Everybody reads it. And by reading on Pep Guardiola, many coaches who are in academies or not the professional ones, but who are trying to make it, it's like, I want to be Pep Guardiola, I want to do this. When they don't really fully perhaps get it, or at least it's not in the DNA. That mixture is not fully formed you are brought up with high tempo football, with tackling, with physicality, and to actually say, now position yourself, and you can only do, only be in this square, and you have to pass the ball 1 to 2 touches. It's a transition that is not easy to do. And so did you struggle with that a little bit at Barcelona?
Yeah, it was difficult. It was especially in the first year, and the manager that I had was just like, you're the number 9, like the ball would come to you, and I was always at Man City, like going to look for the ball, getting on the ball, making things happen, and it was frustrating. I scored more goals, but I wanted to be involved in the game, like I wanted to be there, but also going back to what you're saying, the fans also, it's the fans' mentality. So even at Everton, when they keep the ball or go backwards, I mean, in Spain, that's just the norm. But the fans are booing, they're on your back. Like, Everton fans, like I said earlier, when they get a throw in, they're cheering. Or when you clear the ball long, they're cheering. And it's like, what? Like in Spain, if you just headed the ball clear, the fans, the players, they would be killing you. They take it down and they carry on playing out from the back. But at Everton, boom.
I've just been at in Glasgow, in the Old Firm, and Celtic were playing, 2-1 up, were playing against 10 men at home, and in the second half, they only need to control the game, pass the ball around. But no, the fans wanted somebody of the team, the Celtic players had the ball, drive. It's like, I'm thinking, drive it against 7. And then he will drive, lose the ball, and people will clap. It's like, so it's that interesting.
It's the same with when you're winning and they have the habit of going to the corner flag. I went like crazy. Like, why you go there? Just keep the ball. You're passing the ball, but because they don't have it, no, you run and you stay there with the corner flag. And you wait there, 5 minutes? No, you go, you pass, you go back, but fans get like, why are you going back? Why are you going like? So it's different, the mentality.
Toni, do you find that, since your time in Barcelona, obviously there are now 2 Lionesses in the squad, in Lucy Bronze and Kira Walsh. Do you feel like Spanish football specifically has a greater curiosity and more interest in the English game than maybe it had when you were playing there?
I just think the players also on the team have adapted to welcoming foreigners. You know, like it's a bit, you're going to fit in and play our style, but we're going to use your strengths as well. I think the best example of that was Lika Martins. Like, she was so direct, 1v1, like that's why they signed her. She had an incredible European Championships. But then she went to Barca and we kind of took that all away from her. Because it was, no, we build, we be patient, we go together as a team. And like a lot of teams in Spain play a high back line, and Lika was quick. So she was like, just play me and I'll win the race. But no, that wasn't how Barca play. So it's a bit of give and take, but it's so nice to see now, like, you touch on Kira Walsh being over there now. She was incredible at Man City, a bit like the Paul Scholes, would just sit in the centre circle. But then I see the other day stats from the Champions League, and she's like the highest runner. And I'm like, that wasn't Kira. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe they've changed the style a little bit more, and Kira's like adapted to them. But I definitely take it. It goes both ways, and yeah, I think football could be the best if we could make a great combination of English and Spanish football together.
I like the idea of this great combination and finding the happy middle ground. I guess because we're going to take a couple questions from the audience, we'll be finishing very soon. Guillem, if you were to make a composite of the best of Spanish and the best of English football, what bits would you bring together from each side?
Oh, I just had to go to the fans, but I like the fans to be English. Although what's interesting is that our fans are logical. If your team is losing 5-0, you boo them. You don't clap them on the pitch. Which is what happens here. It makes no sense.
That's debatable. Huh?
Well,
If you are in the grass, it's different than if you are...
maybe, but there is that passion that, and the fact that it's a lifestyle means that the fans actually treat you like or treat football like gods, and football players and coaches. As I said, the professionals love that, but that also makes the experience so much unique when you come to a football pitch here, the sound of it. I was at Celtic Park, no Rangers fans this weekend, no Rangers fans, but it's still electric. It was absolutely electric. In Anfield, Old Trafford some time ago, there is all that. And then obviously, yeah, the Spanish coaches to run the teams, and that perfect combination of Spanish and English players that doesn't really fully exist yet, but Tony's a good representative of it now. You've done both. That would be the perfect mixture. Yeah.
Gaizka, what would you bring together from the two countries to create a perfect footballing culture?
Well, I think I love the fact that the English fans, I think Guillem mentioned it before, they're very knowledgeable about football. So there's obviously this understanding of how English football fans are. They know a lot of, and the respect. I love the respect that they have for football players, which we don't have in Spain, or we get in there slowly. So that I will bring it to Spain. And what I will bring here, well, the ability which has been coming. I think if you put the football that we like a bit more direct and a bit more disorganized, with the talents, the David Silvas, the Fabregas, Kun Agüeros. So these sort of players that create chaos a bit, or makes proper football, no? The football that we will enjoy.
Toni, any other thoughts from your end?
The weather. Much prefer football on a sunny day than this rain.
I think we're going to do a couple of questions from the audience, if we can, Carlos and company. If you have any questions for our panel, feel free to raise your hand. We've got time for about 2 or 3 before wrapping up. Please say your name, by the way, before...
Sorry. My name is Juan Pedro. I'm actually the second to Laura. I work in the Spanish consulate. My question is for Gaizka. In 2001, there were strong rumors that you were going to sign for Real Madrid. But that very summer, you signed for SS Lazio, which broke my heart, by the way, because I am a Real Madrid fan. What happened?
The journalist here? Oh, yes, no, sorry.
Guillem said he had 2 friends in the audience. I don't know if...
Is that the one, yeah? No, I've said it before. What happened? Mr. Florentino happened. Florentino wanted me. I was happy to listen to Florentino, but Florentino, as you will see this summer, well, just in the last 4 years, with some French player happening. So it was very similar to me in the sense of he wanted me to do certain things that I was not ready to do or prepared to do until he put the money on the table. Because he never did that, I never went to Madrid. But it was as simple as that. Like, yeah, well, I would have loved to be in that Madrid, winning some Champions Leagues, but no.
Next question. Feel free to raise your hand.
Who do the panel think is the best player in the Premier League at the moment?
Foden, no? Has to be Foden. And again, do you know Pep Guardiola has got one more year at Manchester City, yeah? And then he leaves club football. It's an educated guess, and he wants to be a national manager after. And it will make so much sense that he becomes the England national coach after Southgate, because he's going to have the likes of Foden in his hands, players that John Stones, so many that have actually developed either under him or under Pochettino or Mikel Arteta or now Unai Emery, Iraola, all those guys, Rafa Benitez, whatever, who put layers of knowledge that have to do with what these coaches learned back in Spain. So it will be have certain logic that Pep Guardiola becomes the national manager and works with them. Foden is he English? Is he Spanish? I mean, he's a mixture of both, isn't he? He's like, what is a short? You asked, 15 years ago, you go to Sam Allardyce and he says, I've got a guy that's going to play number 10 next to the striker. He's short. He will keep the ball, give you a pass, and he can just go through the lines and dribble. Don't want him. He's not 2 meters 50 or whatever. So he's a bit of that, isn't he? He's a bit of a Spanish and English put together.
I was at Man City when Phil was like this big, and to see him come through the ranks now, and even the effect that Pep Guardiola's had on him, like you say, it's a bit of a mix of the English and the Spanish that we're saying. I think he's the most likely that's got that mix, and who better to learn from than De Bruyne, because I think although he's like a lot older now, but I mean, he's a fantastic player as well. But yeah, Phil's definitely got it.
Consensus?
Yeah, I think so, and it probably proves the point that we're here tonight. Like, an English player that is being kind of modeled to the player that is today through different coaches and styles. Because he had Italian, it was before with Mancini as well. So.
Yeah, but the academy of Manchester City has been influenced by Spanish
and he's been through different nationalities as coaches, and he's been the player that he is now, which is an amazing player, through all that, mostly Spanish.
Before we take our next question, as the La Liga guy on the stage, I'm obliged to ask, best player in La Liga right now?
Mbappé, no?
Best player?
Signed in February, so, that counts.
Well, it will be one of them for sure. I don't think we'll see him in the Euros, but Isco has been unbelievable. Isco, I think, he's had an amazing season.
Bellingham?
I haven't seen the whole league. I'm just speaking from afar, but I think he's done incredible
he's
to
been
go over there,
yeah.
have the impact at a team like Real Madrid. Yeah, he's been incredible. And the transition, it took us how long?
But he's very old, that's why.
Yeah, Jude Bellingham, absolutely. Another one who was in love with Revista La Liga, with Sky Sports, one of those kids that were watching Gaizka, myself, Grant Hunter, and all those playing about Spanish football. He's told me himself he wanted to be a Barcelona or Real Madrid player, either of them. Now it's better to be a Real Madrid player for obvious reasons. But he was, again, one of those, I don't know, millions, thousands of kids that were brought up into Spanish football, wanted to be part of it, and he's gone there and he succeeded because he thinks of the game not just in a, say, English way. He thinks very much into a European modern way and influenced by Spanish football.
Excellent. And I think we had one final question here.
Hola, me llamo Yolo y soy galés. I speak Welsh first language, English, and I'm learning French and Spanish in school. And I want to be a football journalist when I leave school. So my question is for Guillem. What are the biggest advantages of being multilingual in the sports journalism industry?
Mate, you're going to make it. Definitely, because first of all, you got interest in languages, you're doing what you have to do to learn. You're going to be ahead of the rest. And I can give you so many examples, but World Cup. In the World Cup, in the mix zone, that's the place where the players go through after the games. Place yourself at the end, and you're going to be able to interview whoever you want, because most English journalists just speak one language, and Spanish journalists only speak one language, maybe English as well. But to have the ability to communicate with different languages, to different cultures, different players, that puts you ahead of the game for sure. So it will be harder to then go to Spain and write in Spanish or do your stuff in Spanish. But even if you base here, which has got a bigger industry anyway, media industry in football, you're going to be fine. Yeah, you will be ahead.
Gaizka, Toni, any language advice?
No, I think language is definitely an advantage. The more the merrier. It will help you settle quickly. It will help you to understand the culture, because if you speak languages, you need to understand how to write things in different languages, which obviously Guillem knows very well. But yeah, languages are a great tool to have.
Toni, final word from you?
I agree. Yeah, just put yourself in them awkward situations. It's hard when you learn a language, but you've just got to be brave. Like, I learned best by sitting around the table with my teammates at the breakfast table. When I went out to restaurants or when I was in a taxi, I thought, I'm not going to see these people again, I might as well try. So yeah, just try. And yeah, I got there in the end. But when I was younger, I never thought I would learn a language. And it's an incredible quality and skill to have, and it opens up so many opportunities and doorways. So good luck.
And I think that's a great way to end our panel with the Instituto Cervantes. Thank you very much to all of our panelists, Guillem, Toni, Gaizka. Everyone, a big round of applause.